Hello, everybody. This is the Political Christian. I'm your host, Brent, and this is the second video for the channel. Uh, this week, we will be getting into some meat. And I say week, I don't know how often these things are going to happen. As I can, and as things come up, I'll be making these videos. But this week, there's been some things going on in the political sphere. But I also wanted to open up with some information about myself and some of my viewpoints, just so that you know where I'm coming from as we start this journey of discussion, and hopefully you won't hate me for it, because I am a conservative. Conservatism means a few different things. A lot of people have some negative connotations on it, thanks to a lot of people in the political party that believes it is conservative, but is not actually very conservative anymore, and that'd be the Republican Party. I don't consider myself a Republican per se. I do have a lot of the same views as the core belief of Republicans, but there's a lot of Republicans that veer from that a lot, take some things to extremes, and you've seen all the news and all the crazy clips, I'm sure, of crazy things people say that have an R in front of their name. As a conservative, I believe in personal liberty and personal freedoms, and the importance of the individual in that sense. So my belief is as you as a person, your personal liberties and things like that should not be infringed upon, just because someone else doesn't think that that's how people should live or something like that. That's kind of the point of the Constitution, and that's what it stands for, and that's what it protects for all of us. I can't force my beliefs on you. I can talk about them, thanks to the First Amendment, but I can't force you to believe that. No one can jail you for not believing that. And even though we might disagree on things, sometimes a lot, sometimes just a little, sometimes we might agree, but at the end of the day, no one's going to jail any of us for having our own beliefs. So that's kind of where I come from. I don't like the government involved in most things in life. I believe that we as citizens should not have to worry about what the government's trying to force us to do. I think giving government more power has historically not been the best idea, and we've seen quite a few instances of that, especially in the past century, the 20th century, when two world wars broke out, and a lot of people died due to different groups and different belief systems and different mentalities of leaders that had the power to go out and kill people they didn't like, or political opponents and things like that. So obviously, if you look at history, stronger government is generally not good for the general population, and I am part of that general population, and so I feel that that's not the best thing for me or my family, or you and your family. So so that's my general belief in the position that I'm coming from. What I wanted to talk about tonight is how us as Christians should kind of view this whole healthcare situation. Some background on healthcare. Of course, we had Obamacare passed in the beginning of Obama's first term, and it's kind of gone into effect slowly over the years. Different parts of it went into effect. Some parts were retracted through various means and things of that nature, and we're at a point now where Republicans hold control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and they're trying to overturn it, and they're trying to do some different things. And so we're going to talk about what the Bible says about that and some of my personal views on that, just because obviously there was no Obamacare during the Bible. There was not really a centralized healthcare system. They had doctors, and they had different home remedies and things that they did. A lot of people died because some of them were silly, but during the Bible times, there was a lot of crazy diseases and stuff that could go through and wipe out mass populations on the earth. So it doesn't really talk exclusively about the government position on that, and that's actually going to be part of what we're discussing here. So what does the Bible say about healthcare? Matthew 10:8 through 11 says, "Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons. You receive without paying, give without pay. Acquire no gold, nor silver, nor copper for your belts, no bag for your journey, nor two tunics, nor sandals, nor a staff, For the laborer deserves his food, and whatever town or village you enter, go out, find out who is worthy in it, and stay there until you depart. So that's just like a whole overall passage. It was some information and some instruction that Jesus was giving his disciples. But in the beginning, he talks about healing people, raising people from the dead, cleansing lepers, miracles. He's talking about miracles. And he was telling the people, his disciples, to do that. James 5:14 is, anyone among you sick, let him call for the elders of the church and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. Now, both these passages are talking about us as believers laying hands on people and healing them, which would be a miracle, which I believe still happens today, and can happen. But generally, when we're sick, we go see a doctor. If we have a headache, we take some pills, some medicine, and generally you feel a little better after that. Depends on your headache. I get migraines, and they're pretty severe, and if I don't take anything in the beginning of it, they get a little too intense for me to handle, and I'm decapitated, incapacitated for the rest of the day when that happens, when they get too crazy. But anyway, there's not a whole lot here about like a healthcare system, and I feel like that's kind of the point. That's just two examples of many examples in the Bible about taking care of the sick and how to do so. And not one of them references the government. Not one of them says, take your sick to the government and let them take care of it. Take your sick to the government hospital so that they can be cared for. The whole object of everything centers around we, the people. In this case, believers, but as Americans, we can kind of come together and see the merits of this. Before there was health insurance and all this crazy stuff, we just went to the doctor and they told us how much it was, and we paid it. And if we needed help, we had community groups, we had churches, we had our religious backing, whatever religion that you are. You had a community around you that was there to help you and support you in your times of need. If you're going through cancer, if you're going through some type of disease, there were people that helped you. There were people that take care of your kids when you had to go to the doctor. There were people that could financially support you in different ways, like helping with treatments and things like that. We were much more community oriented than we are today, and it's just kind of sad to me the direction we've been going, where we're kind of branching away from that, and we're kind of staying within our own little groups of close-knit friends, and that's about it. And we don't have the community, and that's just part of the change of culture over time. I think it's unfortunate in this case because we had something really cool going on, decades ago, when we had these centralized communities and we helped each other out and we cared about each other's problems. Now we just get on Facebook and Twitter and tweet at each other about how we're wrong about how to deal with our problems. So, and I'm guilty of that. I'm not pointing any fingers. So there's definitely been a big culture shift. Now, the Bible in countless places for us Christians tells us to take care of the poor, to take care of the lame, the sick, and I believe that we should still do that. I don't believe that it's really the government's place to tell us how to take care of each other and how to pay for these things. Now, are the costs outrageous? Yeah, the costs have skyrocketed. Part of that's attributed to the fact that people have insurance. If you don't have insurance and you call up with a bill that the hospital sent you and you went in, and you tell them you don't have insurance, usually that number on that bill drops very rapidly. They know that you're not going to pay, what was it, $30,000 for 4 days in a hospital. My wife actually, we just had our second child born. He's a little over 2 months old now. And the week after he was born, she had to go back to the hospital. She had a blood clot. We didn't know at the time, but she almost died. And we had to stay in the hospital for 4 days, on top of the 4 days that we had to stay with our son. He was a C-section, so we had to stay a little longer. But we had to go back to the hospital after having been home for a week to deal with this thing. And it ended up being, they thought at first it was an 11 centimeter blood clot. It ended up being a 21 centimeter blood clot in her uterus. I know it's a little graphic, but so she had that going on. She had to be taken from our house in an ambulance, and I had to follow them, and it was very, I wouldn't say traumatic. It's traumatic, but it was a very concerning time. They didn't give us all the information up front, so we weren't freaking out like, she's gonna die, because they told us after the fact that she almost died. Um, but we got that bill, and it was about $33,000. Now we haven't gotten the final bill after insurance, but I guarantee you, if I had called them up and said we don't have insurance, that $33,000 would have dropped. Now it might not be something that we'd want to pay. Still might be a very large amount, but um, but the fact is when hospitals know you don't have insurance, there's usually a real cost that comes out. Like, this is how much it actually is. So so insurance is definitely attributed to the rise in healthcare cost. Under our current healthcare law, which I'm not a very huge fan of, my cost personally, I went from paying $30 a check to $90 a check in health insurance since that's been enacted. For something that we were trying to do to try to keep the cost down, that seems a little steep to me, especially when I can't opt to not have it since I'm 30 years old. I'm pretty healthy. I don't have any health problems, and I could probably get away with not having it. And if I had to go to the doctor, I could pay the $90 doctor visit out of pocket, because I'm already paying. My copay is, I believe, $40, maybe $50. So I'm already halfway there, and I'm paying $90 every 2 weeks, every paycheck. So that's not even to talk about my wife. She has insurance through her work, and the kids are on that, and her paycheck should be close to mine, and it's about $350 to $400 less every 2 weeks, just from health insurance alone. So so there's definitely a problem there. It's a huge amount of money. Went from paying 30, it was 60 for the two of us. So so she was on my insurance when we first got married, 60 for the two of us per check. That's $120 a month. It went to $180 a month for just me alone. Thanks Obamacare, I guess. Now, it's not all bad. Obviously there's pre-existing conditions and things that Obamacare forces insurance companies to cover, which is good. Nobody disagrees that people shouldn't have access to that if they need it. What I think people can't agree on is how we make that happen. And, I already told you in the beginning of the video, my opinion, government shouldn't be involved in anything beyond what its normal use is, which would be something like infrastructure, roads, fire protection, so like firefighters and things like that, the police for public safety, and then the military to keep the nation safe. And that's about it. That's about all. It's about all that should be really allotted to the national government anyway. So the federal government should be pretty limited in my opinion. But anyway, so we had a healthcare law come up, and it just came out today that it's not going to pass because the final Republican to cross over and go against it, John McCain, came out and said that he was going to go against it, which is fine. I'm not going to complain. I didn't like that bill very much anyway. It would have been a step in the right direction, I believe, but at the end of the day, I feel like they could do better, and they should be able to negotiate something a little better to get more than a thin line of votes that barely passes it. I feel like if we're barely passing it, we're not doing it right, because while you might not agree with the other side of whatever political spectrum you're on, at the end of the day, we have to learn to get along and agree on things if we want to pass things through Congress and have a successful country. Just because I don't believe in a centralized healthcare system doesn't mean that I can't sit down with someone who does, and we might be able to come to some type of agreement on what we should do. And I feel like that's how the government's supposed to work. It's not working like that very well right now, and I'd love to see it work a little better. At this point, I'd try almost anything because the healthcare costs are really high. But anyway, that's just my opinions and some information from the Bible and some perspective for us. Go ahead and comment below if you have any questions or have any suggestions for future videos. I am in Georgia, so if you're watching this from somewhere other than Georgia, North Georgia specifically, if you have local stuff going on that you want me to research and cover, anything like that, drop it below, and the subject you drop in might be something I cover. Also, subscribe so you get the updates when I do upload these videos. Again, I'm not in a groove of a set schedule right now, but I'm trying to get there. But So subscribe, follow me on Twitter. I'm going to drop that link in the the notes below as well, and just comment if you have any questions. See you later.